with the data that we've generated, we had transferred this asset also to Fall River, which is our site in the US. So we now actually have 2 sites in the file. And so we hope to commercialize from anyone where this asset gets approved from. I think the partner is shortly submitting all the data that was required, and including the site transfer data and then the stability associated with it. So our sense is that this is an asset now which is time-bound in terms of its approvability. Look, oligonucleotides is a type of a direction that we have taken, which I wouldn't say it's similar, but it was kind of an opportunity that we even thought with peptides earlier. And oligo offers us that opportunity to perhaps help shape the regulatory environment, as well as benefit from knowing it before the others. And so that is our plan on oligo. I think we see skills that we developed during peptides, skills that we have from characterization, that we think we could benefit from in the work of oligonucleotides. But it's very early days for us. This is likely to evolve over a 3 to 5 year period. And that is what we're hoping with the foray here.
Our next question is from Sohini Das, Business Standard. How has the heat wave influenced medicine buying across different parts of India, if at all? How has the demand for your electrolytes gone up in the last 1 month?
So electrolyte demand is strong. It's quite clear that it's much stronger than the previous year, where I don't think the summer was as bad or hot. But I think, yes, electrolyte demand is very strong. I think the heat wave, from what we are seeing across India, there is a story to April, but there's also an emerging story to May. So the April story was severe heat and possibly, I would say, less visits to hospitals. But I think the May story is a little different. It is increasing, possibly a little bit of an increasing visits. And we are seeing this even with FMCG, where I think we're seeing a bounce back and a recovery coming across sectors there as well. So I think there's some recovery happening across India after a fairly hot April.
Our next question is from Rishika Sadam, Reuters. Given Cipla and Eli Lilly's association from the past, is Cipla open to a partnership with Lilly to market their weight loss drugs in India?
Absolutely. And always, we value our partnership with Lilly tremendously. And we think that the 2 companies are culturally very aligned. And we've now got a very nice working relationship with Eli Lilly over the insulin range that we sell for them. So yes, always open to a partnership.
Great. Next set of questions are from Ekta Batra. What is the expectation on the US business in terms of quarterly sales?
Well, we said that a base level for our business, it was roughly in the range of 215 to 220 million most quarters of last year, and we're broadly in range of that. I think going forward, it will be responsive to launches and some market share gains on some lead assets. And so, I'd like to guide that it should be higher than where we ended in the last quarter, and it'll be dependent on launches.
And next set of question from her. What has resulted in the margin miss and margin guidance?
I'm not sure there's a margin miss. I think there is a margin decline from Q3, but that's largely because of the reverse seasonality of India. So when I look at our EBITDA margin versus the previous year, our margin is actually up. I would think about close to 200 basis points. So I'm not sure what the miss is about. Versus Q3, the margin will always show a decrease because Q3 is peak respiratory season and Q4 is reverse seasonality. So we don't see a margin miss actually. The margins have come exactly like or in fact higher than what we had internally estimated.
Another question from her. Any comment on the remediation of Goa and Indore?
Yes, and I think, as I mentioned, Goa, we are probably closer to a re-inspection, since 2 years is likely to be over by August, which is when the last citation and inspection had happened for Goa. Indore, we are about 80-90% complete in terms of our remediation, and I think we will be inviting the FDA over the next, after some time, to come and visit us for an inspection. So I think that's the status. Meanwhile, we made some good progress on the transfer of a couple of assets from both these plants to our facilities in the US and a partner site.
Our next question is from Satviki Sanjay Bloomberg. In the last quarter, Cipla had said that it's waiting for approval on one peptide asset. What is the update to the approval, and what peptide asset would it be? And when would you be looking to launch it in case the approval has come in?
We launch it immediately after the approval. That is clear. We're ready. I can't name the asset because of competitive reasons. I can tell you that we think we're much closer to approval now than we've possibly ever been.
Great. Our next question is from Vishwanath Pilla. What is your guidance in terms of revenue growth and EBITDA margins for FY25? Are there any key drivers?
Yeah, I think I'm happy to give, revenue guidance is generally a summation across our markets. We will grow higher in India. Our revenue estimates will be higher in the US as well than possibly market growth. Both India and US will be higher. India, US, South Africa will be higher than market growth. That is the challenge our teams have taken. I think overall EBITDA, we're looking at 25 and 25% EBITDA and slightly higher in terms of percentage to sales.
Okay. Our next question is from Jyoti Datta. Hi, Umang. Can we have a business outlook for the year ahead, especially since a new government will be in place? So are there any expectations on the policy front as well?
Well, I think yes. On policy front, there will always be, I'm sure there are lots of things that the 100-day plan of the government will cover. And frankly, we think that there are lots of new codes and regulations that have come into the market, which we think is good for the market and also creates a competitive intensity that stays uniform throughout the year and between companies. So yeah, I think those two promulgations, of course, are here. But we also think that as the government unveils its new budget after the election and begins to expand the number of people who are going to be covered by government healthcare insurance and increases some of those caps, we do see a follow-through effect for the India formulations market. We are, as a company, very bullish on the India story over the next 5 to 7 years, where we think there will be deeper penetration and the Indian market will begin to afford more medication a lot more.
Our next question is from Advait from Bloomberg. Are you working on an obesity drug launch in India? What are the timelines?
Yes, obesity is a big identified area for us. We are working for a drug launch in India. It will be timed with patent expiries and relative IP positions that are there in the market.
Our next question is from Apurva Chaubey from Informus Media. How do you see drug pricing trends in the US?
Well, I think the drug pricing trends in the US are at this stage, the US is always a 5 to 10% erosion market. Till a few quarters back, we saw that erosion being on the lower side of the 5 to 10. We're now beginning to see that creep up a little bit more. So, we think it stays in this range. And at this point in time, there's not too much of a marked movement between what we're seeing this quarter versus the earlier 1 or 2 quarters.
Okay. And another question from Anjali Singh, Business Standard. What is going to be the focus areas for Cipla in the upcoming quarter, and what areas will witness new product launches?
We will see new product launches, hopefully in the US. We will see new product launches in emerging markets, hopefully in South Africa and also in India. There are lots of launches planned in this year. We're going to see that. I think we're going to see the response to the onset of monsoon in India, probably towards the end of this quarter. And we're also going to see, a fair amount of, we're going to see how our facilities have been classified, both basis the latest inspection. So there is a lot of effort, I think, that we're going to be seeing in activities across the world.
Okay. Next question is from Shrishti. Is there a risk of Revlimid destocking in CY25 before it goes off patent in Jan 26?
I can't comment that far out. It depends on the number of people who enter the market, what the relative shares are, and what share do all of them have versus the total market. So I can't really comment on whether I see this, whether I see this happening in 25, early, late. Can't comment on that. But the closer we get to patent, the patent expiry, then you could reasonably expect that yes, there could be, Revlimid could reduce in terms of overall sales for a number of competitors.
Another question from Shrishti. Are we expecting a further delay in Abraxan approval?
Well, Abraxan, as we mentioned last time, the fastest path to commercialization is the clearance of our Goa facility. Once the Goa facility clears, I think there will be, that's the time where I think we will be much closer to approval and would be able to provide further guidance on the path of the file.
There's a quick clarification that Anju wanted, which is the first comment that you made was on Afrezza, which is the inhaled insulin, right? Since the India SEC approval is already there, and she wanted a clarification.
No, the first comment I made, I think the question was on the Lilly.
Yes.
Yeah. So, So on the Lilly partnership, the inhaled insulin is a Mankind product from the US. The Afrezza, that's the Afrezza. The insulin cooperation I was talking about was the insulin cooperation between Eli Lilly and us, where we sell their Humalog and Basaglar products in India.
Thanks, Umang. Our next question is from Advait from Bloomberg. Can you start clinical trials in India for obesity drugs? And what is the process for GLP-1 approvals in India?
Yeah, I do think you will have to do clinics. That's certain. And I think the GLP, the innovators have also recently only launched. One of the innovators has in India or has an approval in India. So that, there's a certain time clock that starts with the regulators. And I think that will only start now. But yes, you will need to do clinical trials. And we are, we are on the path to ensuring that we can launch when the market forms.
Great. I think that was the last question. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Trina.
Thank you, Lynn. With this, we conclude our briefing today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you have any follow-up questions, do feel free to email us separately. Have a good evening.
Thank you.